Hello, everyone, and many thanks for joining this stream. New summary from Moscow program. Today is 17th of October, Friday. Thanks God, a week has almost passed, by the way, and we have quite a number of interesting news on some major developments, and I will go through each and every one of them. Of course, and hopefully you will like our new segment, dear friends. And if so, please like the video, click that like button, leave some commentary. This might help to deal with this extremely aggressive algorithm, and maybe video will manage to reach wider audience. Also, dear friends, after their new segment, if there will be any super chatter on Rumble, I will react on it, of course, and I will try to monitor Boosty also and PayPal. Anya is not here at this moment, my wife, to help me with that. But in case I missed your super chat or question or comment from Boosty or PayPal, I will definitely react on it during the next live stream. So no worries about that. And so that's been said, dear friends. Let's go through some news, and we have a kind of breaking news, isn't it, today? That in about 2 weeks' time, Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with US President Donald Trump, most likely in Budapest. At least this is the announcements that we are hearing. And this information is coming after yesterday's phone conversation, quite a lengthy phone conversation between US President Trump and Russian President Putin. They spoke about 2.5 hours, maybe a little longer than that, right? Discuss many topics, and for many of us, probably it was somewhat surprising that this phone conversation even take place. If you keep in mind that today Trump will have a meeting with Zelensky, isn't it, in the White House, and prior to this meeting, all Trump was doing, or his administration, including Pat Hexet, who was in Brussels just a couple of days ago, is issuing more and more threats towards Russia with attacks, deliveries, and all sorts of other stuff. And then suddenly Trump said, like day before yesterday, that he will have a conversation with Putin. And actually, his administration, I guess, contacted Russian side, and their phone conversation was arranged in quite short time. And yesterday, two presidents actually spoke, which is, you know what, maybe it is a waste of time on part of Russian president to talk to Trump. But if there is a slight chance, to de-escalate, I can understand why Russian president or Russian leadership would be inclined to have such conversations, right? And I can understand why Russian president agree, most likely on initiative of Trump, to have yet another meeting in Budapest. It is unfortunate that on some ways that Budapest was chosen, not because I have anything against Hungary, no, man. All the respect to people of Hungary and the leadership of Hungary. But last time I checked, previous meeting between the two was in Anchorage, Alaska, right? US. And based on tradition of protocol, let's say, usually when one leader visits a country, then leader of that country visiting back, right? So it would be better if Trump would travel to Moscow or to any other Russian city, by the way, right? But nevertheless, most likely meeting will be held in Budapest, which is good news for Hungary for sure. For Hungary's leadership, position of Orban definitely will strengthen after such a summit, which is a good news because we all understand that Hungary is experiencing tremendous pressure from Brussels and the globalists, right, for its principal position that is based on defending national interests of that country. But nevertheless, by the way, you know what question I have at this particular moment? when Russian president signed up to be psychologist of Trump. And this is not a rhetoric question because if you notice, every time Trump and Putin have a conversation, for the next 24 to 48 hours, Trump usually behaves relatively adequately. Did you notice that? He is more energetic, more happier, does makes somewhat adequate statements, not always, but time to time. But unfortunately, this lasts for only 24, 48 hours. And then I guess globalist neocons are drilling his freaking brains, right? Putting some extreme ideas in his head. And Trump is back, right? Traditional Trump that loves to brag about how great he is and how everyone should be afraid of him, right? Probably this will happen this time around also. And maybe this conversation between Putin and Trump would not last, effect of it would not last even for 24 hours, because yet again, this evening, Trump going to have a meeting with Zelensky, and God knows what kind of statements he's going to make there. Maybe he will announce that Tomahawk missiles already been delivered to Kyiv-controlled territory and are ready to be launched against Russia. Possible, isn't it? But anyways, let's go topic by topic, dear friends. And I will start with this report from RIA Novosti that yesterday Fox News was one of the first who made an announcement that phone conversation between the two presidents are taking place. Then Trump himself posted about it. And he was saying that right at the moment that he was writing the post, that's my understanding of his words, he was having quite a lengthy conversation with the Russian president. I was wondering, is he posting on his True Social right during the conversation with the Russian president, or what the hell is going on? But anyways, afterwards, Trump made an announcement that they will be meeting with Putin in Budapest. And of course, Russian media, as well as media worldwide, are paying attention to this. And so US President Donald Trump has announced plans for a summit with the Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, in Budapest, Hungary. The meeting will take place at their date to be determined after high-level advisors from two countries meet next week. He said in a True Social post on Thursday, Washington's delegation at their initial meeting will be led by Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and I believe Steve Witkoff will be in the delegation also. And because from US side, delegation is led by quite high-ranking official Rubio, I guess Russian delegation will be led by Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And after that post on the True Social, Trump had a conversation with the journalists, and he went to clarify some nuances, some details. And so let me give you his statements, dear friends, on the matter. Will be better to listen to him than my interpretation of his statements, is not it? And so this is the video.
Also posted about your call with President Putin today, and you spoke about the meeting in Hungary with him. Do you have a timeline or a date set for when?
Yeah, I would say within 2 weeks or so, pretty quick. Marco Rubio is going to be meeting with his counterpart, as you know, Lavrov, and they'll be meeting pretty soon. They're going to set up a time and a place very shortly. Maybe it's already set up. They've already spoken. And I thought it was a very good phone call. I thought very productive. But I'll be meeting with President Putin, and we'll make a determination. Tomorrow I'm meeting with President Zelensky, and I'll be telling him about the call. I mean, we have a problem. They don't get along too well, those two, and it's sometimes tough to have meetings, so we may do something where we're separate but equal. We'll meet and talk parties, but this is a terrible relationship the two of them have, and it's one of those things.
So, well, Trump himself says, isn't it, there that they will be most likely meeting in about 2 weeks' time. Okay, by the way, nothing especially wrong with that, even if eventually it will turn out that it was a waste of time on part of Russian side. Yet again, if there is any chance, even a slight chance, that we can de-escalate, why should not we use that chance? Try at least, right? We will know more after today's meeting of Trump with Zelensky. Let's see what kind of statements will be made there. If Trump will announce that Tomahawk missile is going to be transferred or already being transferred on either in one of the European NATO member states or in Kiev control territory, in that case, I guess chances of meeting between Trump and Putin taking place will be minimal. And therefore, I guess there is a possibility that today there will be no announcements made about Tomahawks between during the meeting between Trump and Zelensky. And Green Goblin going to be very much disappointed, I guess. Although, dear friends, we should keep in mind that Yermak, head of Zelensky's office, and some other affiliates of Zelensky were in Washington, traveled to Washington like several days ago, and they already had meetings with their neocons, right, with Kit Kellogg and a number of other groups, including representatives of military-industrial complex. So globalists that are basically backing now mainly this terrorist regime of Zelensky are working quite hard. Globalists and their American neocon allies are working quite hard to keep this proxy war running, right? So we should keep that in mind. And yet again, let's see who will influence Trump today, what he will be told by his advisors. And unfortunately, among his advisors, there is almost almost nobody who can be counted as to be adequate, right? All of them are kind of warhawks, maybe with the exception of Witkoff, maybe, right? Rest seems like to be warhawks, by the way. So therefore, anything could be expected during today's meeting, right, between Trump and Zelensky. But what is also interesting, dear friends, during that conversation with the journalists, Trump was asked about Alaska summit too. And interestingly, he said that, well, Alaska summit was not really a failure because without that summit, this Budapest summit could not be, right? And he also said that, well, Third World War kind of being avoided, or sides are on the path to avoid this war. And, well, it is good that Trump is mentioning this very dangerous topic, because it seems like he does understand how dangerous the situation is. Otherwise, why would he mention World War III, right? So let me give you some short video on that also.
Meeting with Putin now will yield different results?
Well, I think Alaska actually set a stage, and that wasn't very long ago, but it set a stage. You have to understand, I came into this situation. I didn't start this war. This is a Biden deal, and I came into it, and it was a mess. It could have led to World War III. In my opinion, this could have led to World War III. That won't happen, but it could have. So I came in, this war was raging. When I left, this wasn't even a thought. For 4 years, nobody talked about it. I spoke to President Putin about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye, but there was never going to be doing anything like this. And this all went because of some really bad decisions that were made. And look what you have. You have millions of people dead. You have just a horrible, horrible situation. I'm doing it to save souls. That's all I'm doing it for. I'm not doing it for us. We have an ocean between us. I'm doing it also to help Europe. They want to have it ended, but they're unable to do it. I'm able to do it. So I think we'll be successful. We'll save a lot of lives.
Well, he is, of course, incorrect on number of points there. European elites don't want to end no war. We all understand that Europe is controlled mainly by globalists, of course, and globalists are all about prolongation of this proxy war because they have no reverse gear, they have no brakes, and they don't know how to lose with the dignity, right? And therefore, Trump is definitely wrong on that European wants to end this war. They don't. And Trump is also usually incorrect when it comes to numbers. Probably he just make up numbers. He every week talks about some 7,000 killed. On several occasions, he spoke about some million and a half Russian militaries being killed, which is total nonsense, by the way, right? 1.5 million people is about 1% of the population here in Russia. You're not going to be able to hide this kind of losses. Probably you would agree with me, isn't it? There is no way you're going to hide loss of 1% of your population. It's just not possible, isn't it? But nevertheless, Trump goes ahead and talks this nonsense time and again. Well, when it comes to losses of on part of Kiev regime, well, according to reports of Killnet hacker group, they did manage to hack database of Kiev regime's general staff, and the Kiev regime did lost 1.7 million military personnel already killed and they're missing, right? Not killed and wounded, but killed and missing. So on part of Kiev regime, losses definitely are tremendous, and this is tragedy, by the way, of course, for the Russian world, because as I said many times before, this is a civil war inside the Russian world, and we are basically in a fight against our brainwashed brothers and sisters. Now, unfortunately, Western so-called elites were able to brainwash those people, right? But they still are part of the Russian world, and once this conflict will end, of course, it will be necessary to develop denazification programs and work with those people, right? To bring them back to this reality. But that's a whole different topic. But at least Trump did spoke about World War III, and even though he blamed it on Biden, well, let's be real here. This world was never closer to World War III as it is right now, because it's a Trump that is considering transfer of nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to be deployed against Russia. Biden didn't went this far, isn't it? Biden's administration did not risk this much. Trump seems like, or his inner circle, whoever is making decisions there, seems like they were willing to go this length, but I don't know, maybe things will change now. Maybe things will change. I don't know what Russian president told Trump, but his tune definitely shifted, right? From extremely aggressive to more or less normal, right? And maybe Russian president explained him in detail what will happen if these nuclear-capable missiles are launched against Russia. Russian president did explain to him for sure, and I will go back to this point later on, that the Russian president definitely did explain that from military standpoint, deployment of Tomahawk missiles will influence literally nothing on the battlefield, right? Russian president explained this. But fact itself that these nuclear-capable missiles are deployed, of course, will make Russian side very much nervous, because how should anybody know what kind of warheads these missiles have? And so, I mean, we should trust the statements of Washington that there are no nuclear warheads on it. Of course, we cannot, right, risk that much. And maybe Russian president very colorfully and specifically explained to Trump what might happen if US and other NATO member states will go ahead with the next phase of escalation, which will include deployment of Tomahawk long-range missiles also. And who knows, hopefully this will work, right? Because clearly, for now at least, Trump's rhetoric has changed. and he is no longer acting as like extremely crazy. So good, by the way, that Trump is realizing that there is a risk of all-out war and World War III, right? That will be end of everything. If he understands that and he's in a circle, maybe they will actually go ahead and de-escalate, because it's NATO that is escalating, not Russia, isn't it? We did not send our troops to Mexico to attack US. We did not send our troops to Canada to attack US. We did not do any of it, right? We did not send our long-range weapon systems, nuclear capable or non-nuclear capable, on the border with the US. We did not move our military infrastructure there. Although Russia could, by the way, right? If Moscow wants to, of course, Russian long-range weapon systems already would be deployed in Venezuela, in Cuba, in a number of other countries. But we did not, because we are not seeking no third world war to happen. By the way, we are not seeking no escalation. It's just, it is what it is, right? But anyways, dear friends, after this statements, Trump also was asked about tomahawks, obviously, and let me give you his comment about tomahawk missiles. His tone definitely changed. Maybe this is a part of deception operation. Maybe Trump is that good of an actor. I don't know. Or maybe he is honest, man. I have no strong opinion on that, but his stance on tomahawk seems like changed a little bit, right? Just listen to it.
About the Tomahawks, did you discuss the Tomahawk missiles? Did you discuss?
Well, we talked about it a little bit, didn't say much, but I do say to you, you know, we need Tomahawks for the United States of America, too. We have a lot of them, but we need them. I mean, we can't deplete for our country. So, you know, they're very vital. They're very powerful. They're very accurate. They're very good, but we need them, too. So I don't know what we can do about that.
So you see, a couple of days ago, his rhetoric was a bit different, right? He was considering transfer of Tomahawk, and yesterday he said that, well, we need those missiles for ourselves, right? And although he's bragging about how capable Tomahawk missiles are, in reality, this is just an ordinary cruise missile, subsonic cruise missile, by the way. That is not a big issue for Russian air defense systems. Only main difference from already deployed against Russian missiles like Storm Shadow or Scalp Aegis, for example, is that Tomahawk is nuclear capable. That's the main difference and the significant one, right? But in other ways, Russian air defense systems will deal with those Tomahawk missiles in a very same way as they do with their Storm Shadows, ATACMS, Scalp Aegis, and whatever else NATO might throw at us, right? And if any country has a actual most capable air defense systems in this world is Russia. Some people think Israel has most capable one, but no, man. If any country in this world has a most capable air defense systems, it's Russia, first of all, and then others, right? Israel is not even close, man. They are struggling to intercept freaking drones. Like from 5 drones that are launched, usually 1 or 2 are managing to bypass this highly advertised Iron Dome, right? And Iran just recently humiliated Israel's air defenses, isn't it? We all see that. But anyways, the main point in this Tomahawk, in regards to Tomahawk missiles, is that they are nuclear capable. Otherwise, I said in my previous updates, isn't it, dear friends, that even if all 4,150 Tomahawk missiles that US has in its inventory, allegedly, is deployed against Russia, launched against Russia, first of all, majority, and even simultaneously, vast majority of them will be intercepted by Russian air defense systems, and whatever missiles will manage to bypass air defenses and hit some targets would not be able to cause damage on such a scale with the conventional warheads, would not be able to cause damage on a scale that will actually influence either Russian military-industrial complex in a big way or a situation on the line of contact. And I guess Russian president explained exactly that yesterday to Trump. And if Trump had a consultation with his militaries, they will probably tell him exactly that, because since the beginning of this special military operation, dear friends, how many Iskander missiles Russia used, how many Kinzhal missiles Russia has deployed, how many Tornado S long-range precision missiles Russia used, how many Caliber missiles Russia used, or Ha-101 or other cruise missiles. Number is in thousands, right? Number is in thousands, and on the Kiev controlled territory, there is still some elements of military-industrial complex left. Civilians may don't really understand that these missiles are unable to eliminate entire factory, for example. Definitely not in former Soviet Union, because here most of these military-industrial complex factories were built during the Cold War, right? And during this process of building, engineering this stuff, everything was accounted for, including use of nuclear weapons, right? And some of those factories, by the way, have actually bunkers that should withstand potentially even nuclear strike. And these are enormous enterprises, right? That stretch for kilometers and kilometers away, in length. So Russia already used thousands of missiles, nothing to be said about glide bombs and so on. And still Kyiv regime to nowadays able to maintain certain level of military-industrial complex and the energy sector. Because these missiles are not panacea, by the way. You have to use hundreds of thousands of them if you want to completely eliminate everything, right? And US does not have so many those missiles. Only way you can actually do some, serious damage to military-industrial complex of Soviet era is to deploy nuclear weapons. And if nukes are deployed, then that's a full-scale nuclear war and the end of everything, right? So maybe someone actually explained to Trump, not just Russian president, and someone in US that, well, we can send all our Tomahawk missiles, but it would not make much of a change, right? Because this is just factual. Of course, it will harm, by the way, don't get me wrong. It will be harmful, it will be painful, of course, but it would not destroy the Russian energy sector or Russian military-industrial sector or turn the tide. It would not. That's it, right? But yet again, now Trump's statements do make some sense, but during the day, probably globalists and neocons will try hard, right, to influence him, so that for this evening, when he will have a meeting with Zelensky, maybe globalists and neocons will manage to turn his, change his attitude 180 degrees. Maybe Trump will make U-turn before this evening. We will see. We will see. Anyways, dear friends, I should remove this video. And also Trump went to comment about sanctions on Russia, right? That he was threatening with and his affiliates, right? Number of high-ranking officials in the US. And he made a comment about sanctions also. And let me give you a short video on that too. As I said, dear friends, every time he has a meeting with the Russian president for 24 to 48 hours approximately, his statements, at least time to time, does make sense, right? And I'm demonstrating to you right now that I'm correct. His statements, at least in some ways, does make sense, right? He is not becoming completely normal because it's hardly possible, but clearly Russian president has some positive influence on this person. Well, where is the video about sanctions? That's the video, by the way. So
Putin today said he'd like to proceed with the bill which would put sanctions on Russia. What's your thought on that?
Well, we're going to see. He doesn't know about the call yet. I'm going to speak to him later. And it was subject to what I wanted to do. And so we'll see what happens. This may be such a productive call that we're going to end up, we want to get peace. We want to stop the killing. 7,000 people a week. Can you believe it? We want to stop the killing. So I'm going to speak to him and the speaker, Mike Johnson. I'll speak to them a little bit later and I'll tell them about this. And we'll make the right determination. I'm not against anything. I'm just saying it may not be perfect timing.
Interesting. Interesting, man. Wow. It might not be perfect time. Okay. Makes sense. Makes sense, isn't it? And so I don't want to make a mistake, by the way, that I did after Anchorage summit, when I allow myself to be cautiously optimistic. I'm not going to do it no more. And I will maintain pessimistic approach towards everything that I hear from the West, right? But nevertheless, let's have a hope at least, right? That U.S. administration, with the assistance of Russia or with the assistance of some other intellectuals that might be around the White House, will actually realize that the escalation with Russia and cooperation is actually in the best interests, not just for Russia, in Russia's best interest, but also in the best interests of U.S. and U.S. American people, right? And if this realization will settle in, then maybe we will see the escalation. But yet again, I'm not going to make a mistake that I did after Anchorage. I'm not allowing myself to be even cautiously optimistic. But hope, we can allow ourselves to have a hope, isn't it? That the escalation will happen, because all good human beings in this world wants to see end of conflicts, right? And we are no exception, our community, isn't it? Let's see, dear friends. And when it comes to sanctions, I guess, at least for time being, U.S. will stop threatening Russia, and U.S. will stop threatening Russian trade partners too, possibly, because you remember, isn't it? Treasury Secretary of U.S. just a few days ago threatened China with 500% tariffs, which is insane, isn't it? So probably that topic is closer, at least for the time being. It is very interesting, of course, how Trump will behave this evening during the meeting with Zelensky. We might have a little better understanding on overall situation after that meeting, right? Anyways, dear friends, let's continue now with some other news next is, of course, I want to share with you statements of aid of Russian President Yuri Ushakov. We hear American side, and now let's hear Russian side, Russian interpretation of yesterday's conversation between the two presidents. So Russian and U.S. leaders Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump hold a phone conversation to discuss the new summit, cooperation between the two countries and the conflict in Ukraine, according to presidential aide Yuri Ushakov. The conversation, initiated by the Russian side, lasted 2.5 hours. Russian side. Okay, I was thinking it was the American side, by the way, but okay. Conversation initiated by Russian side lasted 2.5 hours. It was the 8th conversation between the two leaders. Ushakov emphasized that it had been useful and informative. About a summit in Hungary, Putin and Trump discussed the possibility of holding a personal meeting. This is a truly very important point. It was agreed that the representatives of the two countries will immediately begin preparing for a summit which could be held, for example, in Budapest, Ushakov said. He added that Trump had mentioned this location and Putin had supported the proposal. The timing of the meeting will become clear as the foreign minister Sergei Lavrov and the Secretary of State Marco Rubio work together. So yes, conversation was initiated, phone conversation by Russian side, but idea of meeting in Budapest is coming from Trump. Okay. On the conflict of Ukraine, the leaders placed a particular emphasis on Ukrainian crisis. Putin emphasized Russia's commitment to a diplomatic resolution and provided a detailed assessment of the current situation. It was noted in particular that during the special military operation, the Russian armed forces fully controlled the strategic initiative along the entire line of combat contact, Ushakov said, which is factual, by the way, factually accurate statement. The Russian leader also stated that Kyiv is resorting to terrorist methods and attacking civilian targets, and Moscow is forced to respond. The issue of possible supply of Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine was also raised. Vladimir Putin reiterated his thesis that Tomahawks will not change the situation on the battlefield, but will cause significant damage to relations between our countries. Trump, for his part, has repeatedly emphasized the need for a speedy establishment of a peace in Ukraine. Well, if they want speedy establishment of peace, then stop supplying money and weapons. Stop fueling this war. Just back off. And this conflict will end very rapidly. It's that elementary, right? Just stop fuel this war and it will end. The idea that Russia-Ukrainian conflict has proven to be the most difficult to resolve in all of the US president's peacekeeping activities was literally evident in his statements throughout the entire conversation. Wow. Probably Trump was bragging about how great he is and how great peacekeeper he is during this talk, man. Come on. Is he talking like that in private also, as he does publicly? What the hell, man? Anyways, let's continue. One of the White House's main points was that ending the conflict in Ukraine opens up enormous prospects for economic cooperation between Russia and the United States, Ushakov noted. Other statements, the American leader mentioned his successes in resolving conflicts. Putin asked Trump to convey his best wishes to his wife, Melania. He thanked her for her involvement in the issue of reunioning Russian and Ukrainian children with their families. Trump informed Putin that he would take the Russian president's concerns into account during their contacts with Vladimir Zelensky. Putin and Trump spoke of their deep sympathies between the peoples of both countries and agreed to stay in touch. The White House chief called their conversation very productive and emphasized the great progress had been made. The leaders last spoke on the night of August 19th. They supported continuing direct contacts between the Russian and Ukrainian delegations. So that's the readout, by the way, from statements of Ushakov. Yet again, maybe this is a protocol stuff, but Trump's mentioned conversation with the Russian president like 2 days ago, isn't it? And maybe previous call was initiated by US, and this time Russia side had to initiate it, but it was Trump that spoke about conversation literally 2 days ago, right? Isn't it? And that's why I was thinking that they call it, but it does not really matter. It's just technical nuance there. Anyways, let's see what will come out of this whole story, by the way. If American side, first of all, is serious, because Russian side is always serious, right? But if American side is serious about meeting in Budapest, then I guess for next 2 weeks, we would not see potentially, tremendous escalation from NATO member states, from US or from others. Although you never know. When you are dealing with the Western so-called elites, you just never know, right? We will find out. We will find out what is going to happen. And meanwhile, dear friends, before I continue, let me notice. let me do some little break and advertise this channel, dear friends, for a minute. If you like my work, dear friends, and if you want to support, there is several ways to do so. There is a PayPal, Boosty platforms for that. Links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And also you can subscribe to my Patreon page or page on Boosty and choose your level of monthly support there. And during the live streams, of course, there is a super chat that works, or rant as it's called on Rumble, right? You can use that. And there was a super chat, by the way, from Scooby. I can see it, and I will make a screenshot right now to highlight this super chat after the news segment. So yes, super chat works. Super chat works, dear friends, on Rumble, and you can become a premium subscriber there. Of course, all support counts, dear friends, and helps greatly to stay full time on this project and to try my best to create for you as informative and interesting content as I can, right? And hopefully I am improving my work, dear friends. I mean, I'm doing this stuff for how long now? More than 3 years, right? And hopefully my English has improved, my delivery techniques had improved, right? And I will continue to try. I will continue to try my best. All the links to support are under this video in the description box, and will be in the pinned comment after the live stream, right? And now let's continue, dear friends. Let's continue with some other news, because of course many things are happening. And Orban, Prime Minister of Hungary, already made announcement that Hungary is preparing for a meeting between Putin and Trump. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban stated that a meeting between Russia and US leaders, Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump, is in the preparation stage already. I mean, well done to Budapest. I just spoke on the phone with the President Donald Trump. Preparations for the US-Russia peace summit are already underway, he wrote on X, adding that Hungary is an island of peace. And he also said that today he will have a phone conversation with the Russian president, and some details, I guess, will be discussed on that meeting. And this is a big deal for Hungary, dear friends, for sure, right? Because yet again, Budapest is experiencing tremendous pressure from globalists, from Brussels, right, and globalist control regimes all over Europe. And well, this if Budapest will hold this summit, of course, this will put more weight on the position of Budapest, for sure, which is great, by the way. And what else do I have here? Well, until now, news that I reported was giving us some hope for de-escalation. Hope, by the way. I'm not saying much over that, but at least we can have a hope, isn't it? But same time, we should keep in mind that Trump might make U-turn literally at any point, right? And situation may become deteriorating again. And just yesterday, for example, Telegraph, British media outlet, was reporting that Trump is preparing a so-called victory fund for Ukraine through tariffs against China. And as far as I can tell, idea is that US and the European countries will tariff China, maybe some other Russian partners also, trade partners, and they will use some income from these tariffs to fund this proxy war against Russia. So you see why I'm cautious when it comes to all these developments. The situation might change at any point. I mean, this evening Trump might make some crazy statements, and situation may become even worse than it was yesterday or day before yesterday, right? And let's continue now with some other news, dear friends. And next is Dmitriev. Next is Dmitriev, aide of Russian president, who was clearly very positive and optimistic after conversation between Russian and American presidents. He wrote on his social page, important for the world, positive and productive phone call between President Putin and President Trump, with the clear next step. UK and EU warmongers try very, very hard to derail peace prospect, but dialogue and the peace and US-Russia cooperation will prevail. Very optimistic, right? Very optimistic. And Lynn, I want him to be correct, man. I want really badly Dmitry to be correct, right? I want to be optimistic, man, because we are peaceful people here in Russia. Despite all this propaganda that you hear in the West, that Russians are warmongers and Russians, all Russians think is to do some wars and fight and stuff like that. No, we are peaceful people, man. We, if not provoke, we're not gonna fight, man. Right? We can fight, but we don't love to fight. We don't like to fight, isn't it? And I really do hope. I want to hope that I want to believe that Dmitriev is correct in his optimism. We will find out, by the way. And there is actually such a tremendous prospects, isn't it, for cooperation between Russia and US. I mean, I have spoke about this on numerous occasions, right? And both countries, peoples of both countries will benefit tremendously if our countries were, relationships between our countries were at least on a good working level, right? But yet again, only time will tell in which direction situation will develop. But Dmitriev not just posted this quite positive statements, but he also shared this post, and I have to share with you this post of Kirill Dmitriev, because it's really interesting. And if this will happen, by the way, I mean, that will be great, I think, really. So Dmitriev wrote, and he hashtagged Elon Musk, by the way. Imagine connecting the US and Russia, the Americans, and Afro-Eurasia with the Putin-Trump tunnel, a 70-mile link symbolizing unity. Traditional cost are $65 billion plus, but Boring Company, that's a company that Elon Musk has, Boring Company's tech could reduce it to 8 billion. Let's build a future together. And this is an old project, by the way, to link basically Russia's Chukotka region and Alaska, right? And to dig the tunnel under the under the Bering Strait. And you see approximate marshroute of this tunnel right on your screen now. And I believe such ideas were worked on in even during the Soviet Union, during the Stalin era even, by the way. There was talks about doing a tunnel between mainland Russia and Sakhalin, for example, right? Which would be, I mean, enormous project for its time. And I believe works even started on that and then eventually stopped. But when it comes to projects of linking Russia and the US, Russia through Alaska, these projects also were, I believe, discussed even during the Soviet era, and after Soviet Union collapsed too. Some work was even done, and Kirill Dmitriev is using some data there, isn't it? That with traditional technologies, it will cost 65 billion plus, but with the modern technologies of Elon Musk's Boring Company, this cost might reduce to just 8 billion, which is peanuts, right? For such a project which will, which will link massive economies, isn't it? Massive economies, and reduce cost of exports, right? Goods to be moved around tremendously, absolutely tremendously, and this will link China to US. This will link Europe to US through ground, by the way. This will and to Americas, by the way, not just US, but to Americas, right? But yet again, maybe Dmitriev is just too optimistic, dear friends. I don't know. Idea is great. I would support this, obviously, right? And I can see how this project could be beneficial for many, many countries, right? And very profitable. But I think we are just too far away, man, from that for now. But you see, dear friends, there is people like me that are not even cautiously optimistic at this point, because I learned the lessons, right? And many people here in Russia are probably sharing my take on that. But also there are people like Dmitriev that are more optimistic, right? And this is hopefully they are correct. That's what I want to say. Hopefully Dmitriev and all the other fellow countrymen that are more optimistic are correct, man. RIA Novosti is reporting that air defense systems on duty, dear friends, intercepted 61 drones last night that was launched by Western-backed terrorist regime with the assistance of NATO countries to strike deep into Russian territory. 32 drones were intercepted over the Crimea, 13 drones over the Rostov region, 6 over the Black Sea, 5 over the Bryansk region, 2 drones each over the Tula region and the Moscow region, 1 drone over the Kursk region. In response, Russian armed forces also conducted retaliatory strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of the Kyiv regime, energy infrastructure, and so on. Reports are, dear friends, that, for example, there was massive explosions in one of their military airfields in Krivoy Rog area, and allegedly, according to pro-Russian underground, Kyiv regime and NATO were storing there at the point of Russian strike 5+ planes, including NATO transferred planes. Could be F-16, could be Mirage 2000s. Details are not known for now, but I have seen video of these strikes, and there was at least 10-15 explosions, one after another, right? So air defense systems around that airfield probably were completely suppressed, potentially destroyed, and then these Russian missiles and drones, whatever weapon was used, were hitting the targets without any interference. So I think some significant success was achieved during that strike on military airfield. Maybe today we will find out details on that. And well, when it comes to terrorist activity of Kyiv regime, dear friends, unfortunately, we have this tragic news that RIA Novosti's military correspondent Ivan Zuev was killed in Zaporozhye region as a result of intentional drone strike by Kyiv regime's terrorists. Of course, journalists are moving on the line of contact in the zone of special military operation with all the signs that this is a press, right? Vehicles have signs all over. Journalists have signs on a helmet, on the body armor, that it's a press. FPV drone operator, of course, knew that he or she was targeting journalists and committing war crime, but they did it anyways, right? Unfortunately, and Ivan Zuev, war correspondent of military correspondent of RIA Novosti, was killed, and Yuri Yotkevich, his colleague, was seriously wounded during this attack. Tragedy, of course. Condolences to family of RIA Novosti's journalist. RT is also reporting that Russian armed forces are further improving their capabilities of the glider bombs. I did mention yesterday this report from RIA Novosti, but I think this is important news and worth to be repeated. So Russian forces may have tested their upgraded glide bomb capable of striking targets up to 150 kilometers away, which is significantly more, twice more basically than glide bombs range that we have seen until now, at least. Regular Russian glide bombs are typically all the gravity bombs modified with their aerodynamic kits and that add precision and extended range. Most existing models have an estimated reach of between 40 and 70 kilometers, depending on the weight and their deployment attitude. The weapons are considered cost-effective and highly destructive, allowing Russian aircraft to demolish fortified Ukrainian frontline positions from a safe distance. The Военный обозреватель military observer Telegram channel claimed that the Russian strike on the city of Nikolaev on Thursday was carried out with the glide bomb that traveled between 100 and on Tuesday, carried out with the glide bomb that traveled between 120 and 150 kilometers before hitting its target. Ukrainian military had earlier reported the glide bomb threat over Nikolaev, later confirmed that Su-34, Russian Su-34 frontline bomber had launched their munition from airspace above the Black Sea. And this is significant. This is significant, I believe, because, of course, adaptation of this new type of glide bombs to Russian aerospace forces will make it much more safer for Russian frontline aviation to operate, right? Because they will launch these glide bombs far away from areas of operation of air defense systems of their enemies. So I think this is very significant, and we should keep in mind that glide bombs are having tremendous impact on the line of contact, not just in terms of destruction itself of their enemy strongholds, but psychologically too. I mean, can you imagine what will happen to psyche of their enemy troops when they see neighboring stronghold being obliterated completely with just a single strike? It will put fear, by the way, in those militaries that see that kind of stuff, isn't it? It will terrify them. And of course, more terrified your enemy is, less battle capable. That will make them, isn't it? So it has also tremendous psychological impact. These glide bombs on the enemy. Also, dear friends, Trump, being a Trump, went to once again threaten Hamas. Right, in regards to Ukrainian crisis, he acted more or less adequately, right? Let's see how long this adequacy lasts after conversation with the Russian president. But I mean, he is a Trump, isn't it? So he could not help himself, and later on he went to threaten Hamas, and he came up with this post on his Truth Social. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not a deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And this is a second time, by the way, at least second time in last couple of days when Trump is hinting on military action against Hamas. And I guess none of us are surprised, isn't it? Because I said from the very beginning of this Trump's 20-point so-called peace initiative was revealed that this is a deception. Once Israeli hostages are released, Israeli secret services, with assistance of US, British secret services, maybe some others, will orchestrate false flag operation. They will come up with some reasonings, right, to go in, by the way. Either it will be false flag operation or something else, but they will come up with a reasoning to justify resumption of their military operations, right? And that's exactly what they're going to do. And this time around, US might actually send its troops to participate directly in these military operations. And on this matter, dear friends, we have this report that U.S. Troops, forward units, avant-garde, one might argue, of U.S. troops have already arrived in Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, and you can see on your screen screenshot of arrival of U.S. militaries there. Reports are that they could be joining Trump's coordination center to monitor Gaza ceasefire. I think, if anything, these troops probably will prepare ground for potential deployment of expeditionary forces of the U.S. Maybe because since when U.S. militaries become peacekeepers, man? What they know about peacekeeping? I mean, let's be real here. What they know about peacekeeping, man? Nothing. Literally nothing, right? It is what it is. Meanwhile, TASS news agency is reporting that Iran's Security Council secretary made a statement about his meeting with Putin that happened yesterday, by the way. So, Secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, announced that during his visit to Moscow, he met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin and conveyed a message from Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. On the evening of October 16, Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, Ali Larijani, met with the Russian President Vladimir Putin to convey a message from a Supreme Leader of Islamic Revolution. Reads the message posted on Larijani's Telegram channel. It is noted that, in addition, the parties discussed the issues related to bilateral cooperation in their economic sphere, as well as in foreign policy, both at the regional and international levels. And good, by the way, good. Russia and Iran are strategical partners, allies, and definitely further improvement of relationships will enhance significantly opportunities that businesses of two countries, peoples of two countries will have. So it's all good. It's all good. Hopefully, not just hopefully, I'm quite sure, by the way, there is indicators on that Russia is providing Iran with their significant military assistance, right, to make sure that Iran would not be attacked. And I already reported, dear friends, that in just last few weeks, there was quite a number of flights of Russian transport planes to Iran. And rumors are that modern fighter jets were transferred, their air defense systems were transferred, some other weapon systems, radio electronic warfare, and so on. And also we should keep in mind that to transfer weapons to Iran, Russia don't really need aviation, right, necessarily, because there is a Caspian Sea also. And Russia can transfer significant volumes of anything, really, through Caspian Sea. And I'm quite sure exactly this is happening. Neither Russia, neither China, neither any other country, by the way, especially outside of the Western world, wants to see regional war in the Middle East. World is interested in peace, but again, outside of the West, right? And when it comes to West itself, we all understand that Western elites are all about escalation, right? All about provoking regional war there in the Middle East. And hopefully, all the work that Russia is doing through diplomatic means and other means, all the work that China, India, and other countries are doing to maintain, as much as possible, peace and stability in Middle East will work out, and Western and Israel would not be able to provoke regional war there, and they want to provoke it, right? They are not really that good in hiding it, too. Also, dear friends, there are reports about yet another strike on a boat off coast of Venezuela. So, U.S. carried out another strike on in the Caribbean today, and this time they are survivals, according to Reuters report. And if they are survivals, by the way, maybe we will hear something about who these people are that U.S. president is authorizing to be executed, man. Maybe we will find out a little more about it. Although we can have a good enough understanding on this matter based on this report, for example, from one of the media stations of Trinidad and Tobago that I spoke about yesterday, according to which two citizens, two Trinidad and Tobago nationals, fishermen, by the way, were killed during the previous US strike on a boat that killed 6. And in yesterday's news segment, dear friends, I shared video of this from this media, right? So we know that civilians being killed. We know that civilians being killed, but maybe we will learn some more now, because if Reuters is correct and there are survivals from a latest strike, then probably some video will surface in upcoming days on that. And I will end today's first news segment, dear friends, first live stream on this reporter that ex-national security advisor of U.S. President John Bolton was indicated for improper handling of classified documents, and the director of the FBI, Kash Patel, stated on his Truth Social or Twitter, by the way, X. It's difficult to distinguish where these pages are, but anyways, Kash Patel stated that anyone who threatens our national security will be held accountable, and there may be more indictments are on the way. Maybe. Who knows, by the way. But when it comes to this criminal, John Bolton, by the way, this is a despicable individual, scum of humanity, and I don't think anyone will feel sorry that he's been indicted. He is a criminal and mass murderer, by the way, war hawk, and basically talking head of neocons, right? That was pushing for all sorts of wars for years and years and years and years, by the way. And who knows how many people died due to activity of this criminal also, right? So that's about it, dear friends. That's about it for today's news segment. Hopefully you did find it informative and useful. And if so, please like the video and leave some commentary. Maybe this will help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. Share link, dear friends, if you can. Lately, my live streams are about hour long. Right after I made these changes, that after new segment I'm reacting on the questions if I see them through support platforms. But I remind you, dear friends, that we're gonna have a big community chat on Sunday, and I'm thinking about doing the same on Saturdays too. So on Saturdays and Sundays we will have a big community chatter. Those videos might be much longer than 1 hour, but if you like that, I can do it. Sunday for sure. Saturday we will see. And dear friends, now let me highlight super chat from Rumble. Scooby, super chat from Scooby, dear friends. And also there was a donation on the PayPal. I will highlight that too. So first goes super chat. If I see it, and that's the super chat, right? It is. So thank you very much, Scooby, for your super chat on Rumble and $5 donation. And comment from Scooby is hi to the censored people over at YouTube. Rumble rules. Okay. That was Scooby, by the way, from Rumble. And dear friends, if you are watching on YouTube and if you have an account on Rumble too, or if you can switch during the streams on Rumble channel of mine, that will be helpful too, because there is hundreds of thousands of people on Rumble too, by the way, community. Maybe Rumble is not as big as YouTube, and it is not, but there is hundreds of thousands of people on Rumble, and clearly there is a possibilities to grow, right, to reach wide audience. But for this, I need your help, because videos have to have more likes and more comments and more views, right? So that algorithm will, recommend it to more people, right? So if you can switch to Rumble at least time to time from YouTube, that will be of course great help. And there also, if you have an account, as I said, you can use a super chat feature there to support my work and also to highlight. I know on YouTube super chat feature is very popular, but I don't have one because my channel only monetized on Rumble. And also, dear friends, as I said, that there was donation from Julie through PayPal. Thank you very much, Julie, for your $10 donation. And comment from Julie is a good morning. Good morning, Julie. Thank you very much for your attention and support. And dear friends, I will check right now Rumble. There is no additional donations or super chats. Let me check if there was a boosty. I will check right now, dear friends, if I may. Okay, at this particular moment, yeah, there was nothing on the boosted tour, by the way. So, okay, this is it for now then, right? And so, thank you all, dear friends. Thank you very much for your attention and for your support. Hopefully, you did like the news segment. Hopefully, it was informative and enough, interesting enough. And later on today, at 7 o'clock approximately, I will launch a second live stream with all the additional, most likely, dear friends. Let's see how day goes, but approximately at 7 o'clock, probably today, I will launch a second news update, second live stream. And if you are around there, join the conversation. And so, yes, this is it for now. Have a wonderful day and take care, dear friends. Bye.